We're live. We're
Okay.
live.
So we're gonna start out by talking about our good friend Bryan Johnson.
Friend of the pod.
Uh yeah, Devin,
Yeah.
can I just tell me what you know about this character, and then I wanna jump into a couple of things about him today. But yeah, give me your thoughts.
I just want to say that one of the things I find really fascinating about this guy is that he has a blood boy, and it's his son. And I don't think
Mhm.
that that's riffed on enough from a comedic perspective, because we always joke about like elite Illuminati people having blood boys, but this guy has a blood boy. His
Yeah.
son, he takes blood from his son. Not that I think it's as weird. Well, it is actually pretty weird, but that's a weird one, and that's, I think, how I got jumped into the club with this guy. And I I
Can
he's
I can
on.
I pause on that for a second, because I think that that's kind of interesting, because that's how I think first heard about him, was the getting blood from his son situation. And I
Yes.
almost kind of wonder if he did that just for publicity, because he is
Oh.
very smart about this publicity thing, because he knows how to like draw attention to himself. And
Yeah.
I almost wonder if he did that as kind of like a gimmick, because he knew people would write about it, and they obviously did, and then he became famous from that. And then like once you get to like be brought into his world, then he gets to explain the rationality behind it. And
Right.
half the people are kind of like, oh, fascinating, and the other half of people are like, you're a creep, and they just go away. So he just holds on to this is interesting people.
Right.
I get the sense that he did that, and if that is the case, like, man, he played that well, right? Because he
Like,
did definitely draw attention to himself.
like a fiddle, because then I feel like his messaging, I feel like I'm aware of the zeitgeist to maybe like at least like a normal person degree, but maybe a little bit more attuned. And like I feel like this guy poking his very shapely beak into the zeitgeist every once in a while. He's like, all of the messaging lately has all been very positive, and like, this is like my routine, and this is how I'm trying to become younger as I grow older. He does have like a very an alien presence to me, and I always wonder why it is that people who are obsessed with like cool stuff like this become so strange. I'm like, can you just do it and be relatable? I know that's a tall order and stuff, but it's 2025. I think you could manage it. you know um I think that
Yeah.
he seems like he's onto some shit, right? He seems like he's onto some shit, and he's also obviously experimenting a lot with new stuff and keeping his ear to the ground about stuff. We need somebody like this. This is
Yeah.
our frontline guy, right? Like this is
You know
this is
what's crazy?
he's our
And I think
any
about this. I think
he's
about
our
this all the time.
friendship, Peter.
Yeah, like why are there not like 50 or like 500 of him? Like there's
Yes,
one guy who's
just
doing
one guy.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I know that like there are a lot of biohackers who have their like niche thing where they're trying to like make their skin glow in the dark, or
yeah,
they're
yeah,
trying to like get their fingernails to grow 20 yards, or there's always
yeah.
like but like they're kind of hyper gimmick, and then they're not as quite as ambitious as this. There are a lot of people in the space who are trying to like promote longevity science, obviously. I
Right.
mean, there's a ton of those guys like David Sinclair and like
Mhm.
Aubrey Gray. There's tons of those guys, but they're not like day to day trying to, I'm not going to, age one more like second. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Um, so it is kind of interesting that there's not like a ton of these guys. I think that there will be, though. That's a little bit
Oh
of my
yeah.
take on this. Is I think that he is going to start some sort of a movement, and that a lot of people are going to be like, my life is kind of boring. I kind of don't like my routines that are like actually unhealthy the second I stop to think about them.
Mhm.
Maybe I will kind of transform my life around just maybe living a couple more years, and in the
Mhm.
meantime I'm going to feel better day to day, so it's
Mhm.
kind of like a win-win. I
Mhm.
kind of sense that happening, and he is also trying to jumpstart that very intentionally with
Right.
these don't die conferences that he's starting
Oh,
around the country.
oh
I
heck.
actually almost bought a ticket to one. Like there's one in
How much was
Miami in February. I think it's February. I almost bought a ticket. I was like super close to buying a ticket, but I
how
was like,
much was the ticket?
it was like 250. It wasn't even very much money.
250?
Yeah.
What?
It's like cheap.
What is it? What's the deal? Pitch me. Give me the what's the elevator for it,
Shit,
man?
maybe we should go.
Right?
We can still get it.
Ooh, first pod field trip would be fucking lit, dude. I would
Yeah,
love.
so the pitch is that like you go to it's at the Miami Conference Center,
Ooh, I'm on
and
this.
like you eat like the healthiest meal ever for like lunch. That's part of the
Okay.
thing. He gives you like his meal that's just like all perfect
Ooh.
meal, right? And then
Ooh.
you go to different like I get the sense different like stations to take
Mhm.
different biomarkers for yourself to see, like gauge how like healthy your heart is and all that sort of a thing. So you get
What?
like some metrics for yourself.
This is awesome.
And then there are keynote speakers, and it's just one day. Like it's not like an overbearing thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, it sounds not bad. Like I would do it.
Wow. I love that. I love the I this is this is I mean, we when we first started this podcast, I think we would talk a lot about ecofuturism and like what's this? What is this like sapiofuturism? Like what's the what's the pithy brand name for this version of futurism
I
where
mean, it's
it's
transhumanism, like
is
effectively.
it?
Yeah, like
No, but it can't be transhumanism because it's too rooted in like the normalistic experience of like living in a healthy body, right? Like it isn't it's not transcending like it's really
I'm gonna stop you here because I think it is like dead
really
on, like actually
okay,
dead on. Because the average transhumanist is trying to either merge with machines
right.
or like defeat death in the biological meat suit, one or the other, effectively both.
But is this
But that's
but
like what he's doing. Like
defeating
that's
but is it defeating death? This feels like putting the brakes. This feels like putting a gentle brake on death to me. Because are any of these people like? Because the idea of this conference is so sick, where it's
yeah. No,
like
sorry, I don't mean to stop you again, but let me stop
go
you because
go
like this is actually what's kind of fascinating about Bryan Johnson and why I think like the average transhumanist person would say he's doing something that's unnecessary is
mm,
that like right now this is like an Aubrey de Grey talking point, but right now there really is nothing that you can do to live forever. You just can't. Like the medical science, there's like isn't there. You can delay aging and you can keep yourself healthier for longer, but there still is that ultimate cutoff when your heart's just going to give out, right? And so the average transhumanist would say we don't need to really be paying that much attention to this sort of a thing. Just kind of like eat healthy so you feel good. But
right.
we are waiting for a breakthrough in medical science, and this shit is going to happen in a lab. It's not going to happen with like what you're eating today or how much you sleep tonight. Like those things just aren't powerful enough to really turn the dials. We're
Right.
waiting for the thing that's like, oh, no more cancer.
Mm.
Oh, your heart doesn't age. You know what I mean? Like things that like we just don't have the technology for yet.
Which has got
Um,
to be just a different echelon of advancement that someone's looking for because it's also I mean if you think about the implications of that level of technological advancement they come with like with a concurrent like complete perspectival shift in human consciousness as we like are able to if we are able to conquer like more than a century of life, that's going to be a huge shift. Right now, it's crazy. I just saw this chart. Maybe did you show me this chart? I don't know, but it was a chart of the oldest person and to live in that year from like 1900s or maybe even 1800s and then the average age of people dying and it was like the oldest person was like this man and like literally it was like 100 to 110 it was barely ever dipped below that and then the average age is crawling upward from like whatever 45 to like 77 where it's at now and
mhm.
I think that to me illuminates like what this guy is after and I wonder
Yeah,
if it needs a different layer of branding because I think what he's doing he's just trying to close that gap right? Because
yeah.
110 years, brother, how many 100 plus year old people have you met that are interested in living for that much longer? It seems like 100 is mentally for a human like a pretty exhausting amount of life where it's like, all right, like I got it. you know?
Yeah,
Like,
this is one of
not every
those things that is actually biblical. Like the Bible actually got it right because there's a passage about how 120 years is all you get, bro. Like that's it.
right. I mean, like, and that's a fucking long time,
Yeah.
man. You know?
Let me pause for just 1 second. Hold on, just I'll be back in like 30 seconds or like
Go
5 seconds.
for it, brother. Well, we're still alive. um Bryan Johnson, interesting character. I think also, oh, he's back.
Okay,
Look,
sorry. I thought that I left my space heater on. I was worried he was making like a humming sound in the background.
I
Um,
was beginning to vamp, but you know what? I'm glad you're back, man. I love the idea. I went to maybe it was a conference or something like that at some point, and they did a live. You ever had a live blood scan? You ever seen
no.
that?
Mm-mm.
Dude, they I wonder if he's got it at his conference because it's so illuminating, it's so fascinating. But they drop a single drop of your live blood sample on between two pieces of glass, and they put it under a microscope, and you watch what your blood cells are doing in real time. You get to
Whoa, really?
Yes, you get to see them moving around and like finding each other, and they'll, depending on your healthfulness, they'll either be moving very smoothly around each other, or they'll be kind of clumping and clustering in places. You can see the white blood cells. They're these like ghostly, almost crystalline looking structures that are moving kind of very gently through and kind of probing the environment. It's very, very, very cool, man.
Whoa,
But
I need to look that up. That's super
I'm
cool.
ready for this, Peter. I just gotta say, this gets me so excited because I'm ready for biometric data to be like a little subdural implant, like that is constantly taking serum blood samples, that's giving you a consistent panel of what's happening with you in a, I don't know, in a more or less complete way at all times. This is something that to me is no brainer. No brainer. Like, why are we going to a conference to get all of this information when the Apple Watch is already so close to
Yeah.
just little Advil sized, subdermal implant?
Hey, maybe we should go. So yeah, it's 2:50, March 22nd.
March
Um
22nd in my I'm so down.
okay, well,
I'm
let's talk about it offline. Maybe we'll actually go. No, I'm kind of intrigued. I'm kind of intrigued. One thing, speaking of all of
Yeah.
this, one thing that I actually want to do today, right now, is with you, Devin. I want to watch this 5-minute video clip. This is why I have this pulled up of Bryan Johnson's day in the life, like what he does for his
Yeah.
daily routine.
Yes, let's
And I know
do it.
that you're big on like what to do to feel healthy and feel good. We made a whole ass indie film about this.
We
So
did.
this is like a real thing that we actually do talk about pretty often. Let's watch this clip and then let's feel free to jump in and we can comment on it as we go along. But I want to get your thoughts on if you would live this way. You know what I mean? Because it's so like the opposite of live fast and die young. And he even talks about this like in interviews. Like his life is the opposite of that. But yeah, let's watch this. And last time that we did a live stream, I had some issues playing the audio with the video. So give me like a yay or nay. I'm gonna play this for 1 second. Let me know if this is coming through properly.
Yeah, sound off in the comments, guys.
3 years ago, I asked the most unthinkable and crazy
sounds
question
perfect.
possible. Are we
Yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Okay, if anything goes wrong with the sound, just like, jog me. But okay, yeah, this is about 5 minutes, and maybe we'll watch the whole thing. Maybe we'll stop a little bit early.
Just
But
off rip. This guy is actually reasonably handsome, so like he's taking care, he's doing something right.
he's what is he, 40 something, 47? I want to say
Looks
something
all
like
right for
that.
47. I mean, he looks like a younger dude
He
than that.
does not look incredible. I'll tell you that. Like he
I
looks
mean,
like
he's not the hottest guy, you know.
he doesn't even necessarily on any given picture scream healthiest person I've ever seen.
No,
Even,
truly,
to be
he gives
honest,
me
but
Berkeley hippie energy where it's a little gaunt.
yeah,
You
his
know?
talks about this, how his body temperature is like 5 degrees lower or whatever than like the average person because of how many cold plunges he does. And I know that you're a fan of the cold plunge. So
I'm a fan of
who
the
knows,
cold
man?
dip, Peter.
Cold dip. Okay. Cold dip. Is that the terminology?
No, for
Okay.
me, it's a quick one. I'm not plunging into anything.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how long he does it or whatever, but we'll yeah. Anyway, here we go. A day in the life of Bryan Johnson. We're
Let's
gonna
hear
listen
it.
to this and then do some commentary.
3 years ago, I asked the most unthinkable and crazy question possible. Are we the first generation that won't die? To
No.
explore this question, I hired a team of 30 medical professionals. We measured the biological age of every one of my organs, and then we applied the very best science ever done on health span and lifespan. It's worked. I now have the best biomarkers of anybody in the world. I am the healthiest person on planet Earth. And while the protocol is always changing, this is what I'm doing now. Every day begins for me not when I wake up, but when I go to bed, as sleep is my number one life priority. I'm asleep by 8:30 p.m. and I naturally wake around 5 a.m., never using an alarm. The very first thing I do when I wake up is I get 10,000 lux light into my eyes for 3 to 4 minutes. As I'm sitting there, I'll take my inner ear temperature, as my body temperature has dropped 5 degrees Fahrenheit over the past few years, given metabolic efficiencies. Then I'll do a body composition measurement, looking at fat, muscle, hydration, weight, arterial stiffness using a smart scale. I'll then apply a hair serum, massage my scalp for 1 to 2 minutes, and wear a red light hair cap for 6 minutes. I'll do a breathing exercise or meditation for 5 minutes to get my mind and body set for the day. Then I'll consume an 8-ounce drink consisting of Blueprint Longevity Mix, collagen peptides, creatine, and some prebiotics. Next, I'll work out for 60 to 90 minutes. I will focus on strength, cardio, flexibility, and balance. While working out, I'll rotate listening to music, books, podcasts. On the weekends, I'll play pickleball, ride a bike, climb, hang out with friends. Next, for
His
breakfast, I will
posture-
have Blueprint Longevity Protein.
Just gotta say that.
Say that again. You didn't come through.
His posture is mid.
Mid. Oh, okay.
I mean, he's ripped. He's
Yeah.
you can't say shit about that. Boy's ripped.
You can't wait to judge this guy, can you? You can't. You're fine. Like,
Yeah,
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I'm looking for. He's putting himself out there in a way that is just like begging people to judge him. You know what I mean? So I feel
he's
you.
got that
100%.
energy too, where he's like, "I'm the healthiest guy on earth." I'm like,
Yeah.
wait until after minute 1 to drop that one.
Yeah.
Storytelling.
I have some thoughts. Maybe I'll go into them in a minute.
Yeah.
And berry nut mix, collagen peptides, extra virgin olive oil, and 100% pure cacao with a few dozen pills. After breakfast, I will squeeze in a few additional therapies. Daily, I do red and near infrared light therapy 6 minutes a day. Currently, I have 2 additional therapies. One is hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and second is focused shockwave therapy, which I'm doing for my entire body, first in world. Next, I will jump into the shower, wash my face, apply moisturizer and vitamin C, and then 2 to 3 times a week, I will exfoliate with a Japanese washcloth. At this point in the morning, I'm feeling pretty good. I've had a fantastic night's sleep. I've fully exercised. I've had a nutritious breakfast. I'm now going to step outside and do
It's now
10-minute walk
midnight.
in the sun. It feels fantastic on my skin. Now, I'm mindful of the time I'm out when the UV index is low, where I still get the stimulation and benefits of the sun, but without the damage. After this, my work day begins, and it's my favorite part of the entire day.
He's at 8 a.m. for folks at home keeping track. 8 a.m.
Because my morning hours are my best hours. I'm open-minded, I'm creative, I'm fast, and so I prioritize the hardest tasks in this window of time. Now, in my office, my desk and chair are situated so that I can rotate between
This
sitting and
motherfucker's
standing,
life is gonna
always
feel
maintaining
so
proper
long.
posture. I find this to be useful because moving about increases blood flow, which increases my alertness. After the first few hours of the day of hard focus, I will have my next meal of the day, typically something like super veggie, which is a mixture of lentils, broccoli, cauliflower, mushrooms, hemp seeds, garlic, and ginger. Immediately following eating super veggie, I will jump back into focused work. Every 30 minutes, I'll do roughly 5 minutes of light activities, such as walking or bodyweight exercises, stretching. I find that it makes me more flexible of mind and of body. An hour and a half or 2 hours later, I will have my final meal of the day, which will be some combination of veggies, nuts, seeds, and berries. For example, I might have a stuffed sweet potato with avocado, tomatoes, chickpeas, with a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. My daily caloric intake is 2,250 calories, which is made up of 25% protein, 35% carbs, and 40% fat. Note that I am plant-based by choice, excluding the collagen peptides. After my final meal of the day, I will get back into work. And as I did before, every 30 minutes or so, I will do 5 minutes of light activity, which helps with blood flow, awaken my mind, and keep my body loose and flexible. The liquid I drink throughout the day is mineralized, either via tea or electrolytes. I will stop drinking liquids around 4 p.m. to avoid getting up at night to go to the bathroom. The rest of my day is filled with endless activities. What a lot of people don't realize is I am currently the operating CEO of several endeavors, including Blueprint, Don't Die. My longevity protocol is a full-time job. I am a content creator, and I am a father. My favorite part of what I do, no day is ever the same. Now, as the end of day arrives, I have been working nonstop the entire day. I need to wind down. This process commences with me taking a 10-minute walk outside. I'll spend time with friends and family, and then I'll do something like read a book, meditate, do breath work, something to calm my body down. I'll turn screens.
We can stop it there. It goes for another minute. Describe your discomfort to me.
Why am I so uncomfortable?
Psychological analysis here.
Is it like, I feel like I'm uncomfortable in the same way as when I have like sleep paralysis or something, where I just can't quite put a name to it. This guy's like, look, he's okay. You go first. I already weighed in. You know what? Tell me what you think, man. I could wax.
Okay, let me tell you like the straight shot of what I love about this guy. Okay, can I do this?
Yeah, please.
I listened to him. Love is a very strong word here. I don't mean love, like enjoy. I'm entertained by. So I listened to his interview with Barry Weiss on the Honestly podcast, and he was very upfront about him wanting to start a movement and a new religion. He even said a new religion, and it's called Don't Die. And what I really appreciated about this is that like he says that we are in this moment where it makes sense to completely alter our way of looking at reality. Sure. And so even that, like during this conversation, I've keyed in on you saying a couple things that are tied into, this is me channeling him, right? Tied into like the old way of looking at life. Like, whoa, his day is going to be so long. Like, I at 100 people are so ready to be done. Like that's all old world thinking. That's all live fast, die young. That's all like make your mark and then you make children and then you die and you let your children carry on after you. All of that is old world thinking. And he describes this in a way that I think is actually kind of compelling if it's true, right? Like there's so many assumptions built into this that like we're even ever going to get there and that any of this means anything. And he's not going to keel over from a stroke tomorrow because of some therapy he's doing is actually not safe. You know what I mean? Like who knows? But I like how he's doing that because we are at a moment where something's going to change radically with whether we merge our brains with machines through, some, brain computer interface, or whether we do unlock something that we just like start living an extra 50 years, like something's going to change and psychologically, spiritually, if you will, we're not ready for it. And so just like even having this conversation, even being willing to say like, yes, religion is stupid, but we need to think about this in maybe religious terms if we really want to take this seriously. He's kind of like doing that. And he's also just not saying it. He's like walking the walk, as like religious people would say. He's not just talking the talk. And I appreciate that too. Like he is actually being the Jesus figure where he has his like philosophy and then he's living it and he's collecting his disciples and he's doing the actual thing, you know what I mean? Which makes it worthwhile to talk about. He's not like me who I'm like going to write an essay, you know what I mean? And put it on Substack. And then like, there we go. That's my contribution to society. Like he is actually doing so much more than that. And one, he's like multimillionaire. So he can put his money where his mouth is in that regard. Whereas like, I can't start a movement after I write an essay that compels me, you know what I mean? But I appreciate that. Then I can talk more about his day-to-day routine, but that's my high level, honest truth about him, I think. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, when my first instinct was like, oh, this guy, this is pretty exclusively not for working class people. But if you're watching this right, you can see that a lot. Well, yeah, he does give the energy of a guy that lives in like a skyscraper above the clouds in 50 years or something like that.
He also like has the energy of someone who doesn't have children. He has a son. His son is like kind of grown, but like as someone who has a young daughter, you can't do this shit when you got a kid. You just can't. Sorry.
I think like but then
For
it's
most
like,
of it.
well, if you pay attention to what he's doing, I mean, like you can peep game. A lot of that stuff's free, you know, and
Yes.
he's eating like an amount of vegetables that's accessible to every single person every day.
Yeah.
And I agree with that broadly. I think that, yeah, absolutely. You need like you need people to be pushing this kind of you need people to be pushing at the front edge of this boundary so that it drags the conversation further forward. Because unlike politics, like the science of longevity and living a longer time healthier is
Mhm.
just like it's a win 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 win. You know, it's like every year that Americans live longer, we make more money. We spend less money caring for those people. There's less tragedy in our lives. There's less needless death. You know what I mean? It's like,
Honestly, too, like we have so many crises today that I think would go away if we just lived healthier lives. Because he has
oh,
said, and we just have to take him at his
of
word that like
course.
he hasn't been depressed or anxious since he started this routine 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I believe him. You know what I mean?
Also,
Because like
yeah, he
when
also
I consistently get exercise and consistently eat well, I feel great. You know what I mean? Like I think everybody does. So I'm all on board with that.
he also appears to have not had an emotion since then either.
I know. I know. He seems very like robotic. Yeah.
That's the thing for me. Okay, I'm like I can I'm you know I'm the fucking jokey guy, so I'm always making jokes about stuff like this, but like in earnest, and also in a funny way. Like this guy is not like, when is this guy gonna be a guy that doesn't seem he's like living through PTSD or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm like
Mm.
where's the balance? You know, like there's a lot of like constructed balance in this dude's life, and you can feel
He is
that.
not an artist. This dude would never be a rock star or even a novelist. Like he does not have that about him. He's a tech guy. You know what I mean? Like he was a tech
And that's
founder.
what it feels
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
It feels like
That's
uh
where the lifestyle breaks down for me too. And that like I need a little bit of organized chaos in my
we
life. And I
we
need a little bit of live fast, die young because I
yeah,
am trying to be like a novelist and shit. You know what I mean? And like I think that you do need to give something to future generations that's not yourself, like your
yeah,
physical meat suit. It's something
right.
beyond that. And you have to like work hard to tap into something that's you have to tap into some of your own death and bring it to the world now if you want to be an artist, I think.
Speak on it, brother. Speak on it. And I think also too, as we like plod deeper into this technological era, and as we're seeing kids that have this kind of this is not, I know this type of person, I've seen this type of person a lot in the Bay
Yeah.
Area, where it's just kind of, you know, I don't mean to be,
Hello.
but you're just kind of like, hey, 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 you know what I mean? Like more like, you know, come on, you know, you can be more than this, you know, and I don't want to force people, you know, I get that like we're heading into an era where we're allowing people to be as strange as they want to be, but I think that needs to be compartmentalized from encouraging, and if not in some gentle way enforcing a spiritual mandate to interact with like the kind of the grippiness, the juiciness, the kind of, you know, the more organic nature of life. And it feels to me when something, when so it's so it just feels so stiff and regimented, and it's like, well, part of the work of being this guy for people, if you want to be if you want to be the Jesus figure, I'm gonna say probably Jesus was a lot more charismatic than this, you know. And like, I don't know, I find that like yeah, the stiffness, the strangeness, the whole affect of it feels very like, are you really living in balance? You know, you're physically balancing your emotions in every moment, but like
We
something,
are also just seeing him like in clips that are very well curated. I mean, who
That's
knows? Maybe between each scene, it's like, fuck that one up, and maybe he's funny, maybe he's spontaneous. Like, we don't know. Like, also everything he does is very curated. He's got
so
a team of people like
that's so
meticulously editing these clips and like,
you're
you should wear this today, Brian. You know what I mean? I think that
you're
there's a lot of that happening. But
and it could be a persona, right? It could be
yeah,
it also maybe he is an
yeah,
artist.
yeah,
Maybe this is a
totally.
persona.
Sure.
So I think he's doing the Lord's work in a certain way. I mean, he could work a little harder at making it more palatable to everybody that's not a fucking tech bro in the Bay Area,
Yeah.
but no.
Maybe that's our job though, Brian. Maybe or not Brian, Devin. Maybe Brian's leading the way for the tech bros, but then like we're gonna be his disciples that like proselytize to the artist community. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
How do we get our hands on this money to Miami? We need to start a Patreon. We're gonna have to start doing this podcast half nude for the Patreon.
True. Can I show you, dude? Can I show you something that I saw on Instagram, or sorry, not Instagram, Twitter today? We're gonna pivot into other topics. There are a couple other topics that I want to hit today. Maybe this is a irreverent pivot that we can hit on. Oh, I hope I can find it. Here it is. Okay, look at this. So this to me was so funny. Devin, this is maybe what we got to do. Let me pull this up.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. By Bryan Johnson. Saw this tweet today. It's killed me. This isn't even the first time that I've seen this sort of thing. I think that we've even talked about this before as this loads. But okay, look at this chick. Zara Dar. People may not know this, but I publish the same STEM videos on both YouTube and Pornhub. While the YouTube generates more views, the ad revenue per 1 million views on Pornhub is nearly 3 times higher. So she's making $1,000 on Pornhub for every 340 she makes on YouTube, which to me, this is so funny. Like, this is when you joke about how we should do this with our shirts off, you might be onto something. I keep saying Brian, Jesus, Devin, maybe onto something.
You got to give me time to get a pair of tits like that. Otherwise,
how much time you need? We got time.
I don't think we're making it into the millions otherwise, Pete.
Okay, that's our side. Here's my transition from Bryan Johnson to the LA fires. Part of having a healthy lifestyle is living in a healthy environment, right? Yeah. And oh man, are we not there, like on so many levels with our environment? And I don't want to spend too long on the LA fires because it has been, discussed ad nauseum by every commentator in the universe. But we live in California. We've spent a lot of time in LA, even in some of these communities that are impacted. I had friends in West Hollywood texting me pictures from their apartments about like what they were seeing and like flames in the hills, sorts of things.
Right.
And this does kind of like hit me in like a really real way. And that like, I've been meaning to move to LA in the next couple of years. When these fires were ongoing, my wife and I, we both looked at each other and we're like, I don't think I want to move to LA anymore. And she's like, yeah, I don't think I do either. And it's just kind of like, and literally like, I say that like almost jokingly, but it's kind of true. This does like hit me in a way where I don't know if I want to live there anymore.
Oh, it completely changed my mind. I mean, we were fully planning on moving there a year ago. And
so
like,
you too, we haven't talked about this. You too. Damn.
Yeah. And like, as of this, immediately I became so eternally grateful for like just the environment around me. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. When you live in a place that's inhospitable to humans, it can turn on you. And like where you live in Sacramento and where I live in the Bay Area have been cradles of civilization probably since time immemorial. Like these are
people came over from Asia, but yeah.
Well, there's
a long time ago. Yeah.
There's some of the most hospitable places on earth, geographically and in terms of water and such. And so it is actually, me too. We're staying put. We're moving to the city, actually.
Really?
That's right, baby. San Francisco, here we come.
Nice. When is that happening?
Oh, sometime in the next 6 months or something like that,
Okay.
Where
nice. Wait, are you giving up your Berkeley spot?
we're gonna have to. The landlord's selling the house.
Oh shit.
Ah,
Oh man, that's a
9
bummer. I love
years.
that spot.
9 years. Oh, I love this spot. 9 years is a good run, though.
Yeah, 9 years. It's time to move on. Okay.
Yeah, we outgrew this place a few years ago. Let me tell you this. Here's the thing that I've been thinking about a lot about the LA fires, because I saw a meme about this, and it really is true, because I'm a contractor, and when you think about what happens in these communities, all of these houses look like they're made out of different materials because they're sheathed in different materials, but they're all made out of wood and other combustible materials. And there was a few houses that survived in LA because they were
Mhm.
made out of other building materials. Some of, that's not always a hedge, honestly. Like if a fire is hot enough, it can tear anything down.
Yeah.
And if there's components to your house that are able to be heated to an extreme temperature, then anything can fail. But it is interesting that in the United States, we opt for the cheaper, quicker, more effective way to build houses rather than the European style, which is a little bit more expensive, but is very much geared
What do
towards
they use? I'm curious.
stone, mostly different types of
Okay.
stone. It's like stone and concrete houses, hybrid houses that are hybrid, stone, steel, concrete, brick also.
We have a
uh,
lot of in the US, just not on the West Coast.
True. Yeah, very true. Brick's a little bit of a tricky building material. It's got a lot of special conditions that it needs,
Mhm.
but it just, of all of the there's probably 6 building materials that are very common that are completely fireproof, and then there's wood, which is not. And
Yeah.
so I doubt that it's going to be different, because we don't have a very developed stone, or fireproof material building structure in the United States for this. But man, in these places where the fire's ripping through and everything's been destroyed, like if they're putting back up stick frame houses that are just made out of wood, I mean, it should almost be illegal to do that. I would think that this would be a place where a municipal government could exert a pretty high level of control, because they do this in, by the way, in the foothills where I used to live. In the foothills, when you build new construction out there, you're required to have a sprinkler system in your
Foothills, where?
the foothills in kind of north of Chico, in
Okay.
the kind of
Oh, that's definitely fire country. Yeah.
it's huge. And living out there for almost probably 7 years, it was like you're so prepared in so many different ways, but the building code out there is extremely strict
Mm.
that you must install sprinklers in your house, and they're really commercial grade sprinklers. And it's not so you can protect your house, it's so that if your house burns down, it doesn't burn down the whole fucking forest.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's
Right.
just a
Yeah.
good it's just a good example of a city or a county government exerting powerful control on the way that structures are built in an area. And that's something that, as obviously, like, everybody is very emotionally engaged in helping and GoFundMe's, and we all have friends that are doing that aspect of the work, and I think that's wonderful. And the reason I'm commenting on this is because it's my area of expertise. And I think that functionally moving forward in a place where there's going to be working class people, and there's going to be big structures put up to rehouse these working class people, those structures should be required to be made out of fireproof materials by the fucking city government, man. Like, that is an actual stopgap against this happening again. If we're going to keep building in fire prone areas, it's got to be more intelligently than this, and putting less people's lives and property at risk when it
Yeah.
happens.
I mean, California does a good job of mandating earthquake proof
Very
buildings,
true.
but we
100%.
do not have any standards around, from what I've read, none around fireproofing your
Right.
buildings.
Right.
And there definitely are things that you can do in that regard. I mean, I do also think that now this is a wake up call, that we do just need to, I mean, like, just do more. Like, whatever we're
Yeah.
doing now, we should just do more. And I know that, like, a lot of people are blaming Gavin Newsom and blaming the mayor, but if the winds are blowing 100 miles an hour and it hasn't rained in 8 months, like, that's just like worst case scenario. And any given like, oh, Gavin Newsom put an extra like 500 million to this or to that or to this other thing, like it wouldn't have made any difference, like no difference. Like, but now we do have, hopefully years to prepare for the next thing like this. And I mean, there are definitely things that we can do, like making sure that the water doesn't run out in fire hydrants, which I know that is actually like an engineering challenge. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those things that like, I feel like a lot of people who comment on these things don't like know how hard it is to move water at all. Like in order to get water so that there's water pressure up hills, you have to like store water up there and then like gravity pushes it down. Like it's almost like we're not supposed to live on hilltops at all because it's such an engineering challenge to move water like that. It's kind of like a miracle that we're able to do it. And like, you're going to run out of water if you're using all of it all at once. So, I mean, like just like certain things like that, I think that people don't think about how, man, we build ourselves into like challenging situations when,
but it's like, man, you gotta, what it's going to take is collective cultural care, because when you look at a place like Northern Europe and their ability to conquer the sea, right? It's like the humans have an infinite ability to conquer the place that they're in. It just requires there to be an intensity of focus around usually the technological advancements that need to happen to keep people safe. And we have a lot of ways to manage land. We have a lot of fucking ways to manage land, and we have a lot of land to manage. And we got a lot of people that also need jobs. And like, I never really understand why California is in this position where we're putting prisoners in harm's way to go fight fires when there should be some New Deal style program. And I've been saying this since the beginning of this fucking podcast, dude, that the whole concept of ecofuturism isn't just build here and then when it burns down, we cry. The whole concept of ecofuturism is stewardship of the land. And like land needs to be burned. Like when you live in the foothills, that's something that you do. If you own a piece of land and you go a couple of years without systematically gathering and burning the material on your land, everybody knows that you are now, if your shit burns down, it's your fault. And it's not like you can rake every leaf in California, but it's not required. We have a lot of technological structures to understand how to responsibly manage land. There just needs to be resources allocated to it. There needs to be a cultural sensitivity to it, where people are pushing for that, where people are asking for more opportunities to work in that area. I think a lot of people would be really happy working in a broader capacity for a forest service or for a land management situation. I don't know, man. I find it.
Well, I have one more comment that this conflicts with this view just slightly. Friend of the pod, Nolan Gray, wrote an essay in the Atlantic this week that I thought was the smartest thing that I read on we're actually going to have him on the pod pretty soon.
Whoa.
Probably to talk about this. I've interviewed him before. And he had this essay that part of it was saying that like, California has this policy that if your insurance doesn't back you, the California government will like fill in the gap there. And they also like offer like an insurance. And like his argument was that is not a good idea. It seems like a nice idea, but it's a bad idea because it incentivizes people to live in dangerous places. And here's the thing, if your insurance won't cover your house, don't buy that fucking house. Leave, because that's the sign. And if you want to bear the burden and like know that you might lose your house, like take that gamble. But like the state shouldn't be encouraging people to live in places that aren't safe. The state should be doing the opposite and discouraging people to live in non-safe areas.
People like having a buyout program for places like this, places that are flood prone.
Like Nolan Gray even said, like we should buy out all that land on in Malibu that burned, because between mudslides and earthquakes and fires, that is not a safe place to live. No one should live there. The government should buy them all out. And just
I got a sick policy. If it burns down, floods or landslides more than 5 times in 10 years, it's a national park now.
Yeah. Yeah, now it's just
Straight up,
exactly.
you know,
Honestly, yeah.
eminent domain. You know, if this area gets fucked up more times than we deem is
Because shit
appropriate,
ain't getting better. It ain't getting better. So
ain't getting better. It's now a wildlife preserve. The fucking animals can deal with that shit now. You know.
okay, I have a couple more topics to hit today, Devin.
Wait, here can I?
Yeah,
Can,
okay. Last thought.
may I have my Alex Jones moment?
Yeah, you had a take. You said that you had a take that's too spicy for the universe, which means you have to tell it. So
This isn't I think I think I already maybe soft shoed that one, but here's my Alex Jones minute. Maybe this can be a signature bit for me, and I can get some kind of title card happening. Yeah, Alex Jones minute. Alex Jones moment. Well, I'll workshop it. But
yes.
here's what I am wondering. This is going to take 2 minutes. When I was traveling through India and I was in Kashmir when I was in my early 20s, war broke out between Pakistan and India while I was in Kashmir. And the narrative at the time was the Pakistani government was paying young kids cash and giving them rocks to go throw at the Kashmiri soldiers. I saw this happening a few times with my own 2 eyes, okay? And it reminded me this time of the idea that it is actually not that fucking crazy for a foreign government. This is such an Alex Jones moment. I'm not saying
I'm here for it.
I'm not saying this is what I think, but I'm just saying that if a foreign government
I'm just asking questions.
I'm just asking questions, guys. That didn't like us wanted to foment, you know, tragedy in our society. How hard would it be for them to take a disenfranchised person, give them a lump sum of money in an untraceable way, and set them up with the means to start a nice big fat fire? And I don't know, man. I'm just saying, like, in a world where we're banning TikTok because we're starting to understand that it's a military technology.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my Alex Jones moment for today. Insane.
So I mean, I think it's like actually healthy to air things like that, but then maybe to just like give it a like some probability bounds. And so like I put that at 5% probability. You know what I mean? I think it's way more likely that either just like naturally started or someone lit a campfire or I mean this incident of the LA fires did key me into what is it? Direct energy weapons. Have you seen these?
Yes, I have.
I didn't even know that was a thing until like it became a conspiracy theory on Twitter, and it's a real thing. Like it exists. Like I don't think that this started because of that. This could have started because of anything in the universe. Like someone just like driving a truck down a road with a
trailer chains dragging on the fucking. I've seen it 100 times up in the foothills. People dragging trailers. Insanity.
So anything in the universe because it was a tinderbox, and that's like the man. I don't know. Like, yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, okay. Look, Pete. Let me pivot. Can I pivot to my final?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to politely, and I don't have a cool a slide to pull up on the screen, unfortunately. But
topic. I'll pull something up.
Okay. If you could pull up a picture of Mark Zuckerberg. But no, here's my thought, and I this is a totally nascent undeveloped thought, but I found myself amused and entertained by the absolute BDSM level submission that Mark Zuckerberg has shown to Donald Trump in the last couple weeks. I think it is so illuminating and comes back to a hobby horse that I have on this podcast about masculinity and in the tech industry and blah blah blah, and that so many people see Donald Trump as this cool casual father figure. Oh man, it gives me a little bit of a stomach ache. I could go without but but it's like, yeah, how many of these
him on Rogan, right? Him on Rogan, the Zuck Rogan. Okay, let's pull that up.
Yeah, pull up healthy Zuck. I actually like that he's like got his body into, reasonable shape, which, gives you just a modicum more hope that he's making reasonable mental choices as well. But like, you know, man, it's just so strange to watch these tech guys cozy up to Donald Trump and immediately start doing exactly what, let me just give you an example, a young guy on a job site starts doing when they've not been in the trade long. Okay, they start adopting the characteristics of the older guys really fervently and in a way that's kind of cringe. And it's so weird to, it's like Zuckerberg is like, no more tampons in the men's restroom. And it's like, all right, man. You know what I mean? Where, you actually just didn't need
Wait,
to
so
go
so
out.
what's your theory? I'm curious about this. What's your theory on him? My theory, I think it's up in the air, but I actually think that when he says we're going to get back to our roots, I think that's the most honest thing he's ever said. Because like, look at who he was, who he's always been until like he let the HR, masters in psychology HR grads like take over his. I'm not saying this very articulately, but you know what I mean. The HR crowd took over.
What I think's going on with
multi-billion-dollar trap designed to empty your wallet.
Here's what I think's going on with Monsieur Zuckerberg, Pete, is that he's where am I? Am I down?
Oh, you're
here we go.
Chaos reigns.
Chaos. Here's what I think about Zuckerberg, that he's an ex-pussy that just found like traditional masculinity in a way that's amenable to him for the first time, and he's being kind of cringe about it. He got really into it. He was like a wafy nerd that didn't, I was too. I get it. Like there's a seductiveness to being buff and strong and being able to fight and doing all of this stuff, and then there's a whole other component of it that is very boomer coded that we need to leave behind. And I just, this whole, as an older guy, you've just seen it a million times when somebody finds power in a way that is psychedelic to them in a certain sense. And they just don't really interface with it in a way that feels normalistic. And as a person that's in control of so much and has so much power, I think the thing that we got to demand from these leaders is fucking balance, dude. It's like psychological, physical, mental clarity and balance. You can't just be a yo-yo, man. Like if you're controlling culture at this level, you gotta be balancing your whole situation enough that it doesn't seem
Well, okay,
like
let me
over here like a fucking fish.
Let me counter rant a little bit,
please,
because I kind of agree, but let me counter rant.
Please, I'd love to hear.
If Mark Zuckerberg had, I'm just speaking to like the polarization of our times and the silliness of every narrative ever right now. Yeah. If he had gone on Joe Rogan and said, Joe, I've learned this amazing thing. I need to lean into my feminine energies. My feminine energies are telling me the truth about culture and about life and about how to run a company and how to win, how to be a baller. The future is female. If he had been saying those things, rather than like everyone like slightly left of center being like, boo, everyone's left of center would be like, yay. And everyone right of center would have been like, boo. Like, but instead, like he went on Joe Rogan and said like, I found my masculine side and I'm embracing the masculine. And so like people right of center are like, yay, and people left of center is like, boo. You know what I mean? Like it's so stupid. It's so dumb. Like to have a healthy culture, we need both masculine and feminine energy. Boom, mic drop. You know what I mean? Like, hello. It's just so stupid. Like this whole conversation to me is so dumb when you talk about it in terms of masculinity or femininity. Because the only reason Mark Zuckerberg said what he said is that he's trying to cozy up to right of center America. Like, sure. I don't think there's anything deeper than that, because right of center is now winning.
Yeah,
and left of center is lame, and we're not winning. So why on earth would you cozy up to them? You know what I mean? It's that simple. I think
I love
that's too cynical.
either version of Craven asshole is fine with me. You know, whatever. It just feels like, yeah, like you're saying, you said exactly it. It requires masculine and feminine energy. It requires balance. And
Yes.
I'm just really getting tired of like a lot of the people that I can surround myself with that can achieve and exhibit and perform balance in a way that feels naturalistic, in a way that feels curious, in a way that feels respectful. And I keep watching our leaders fail to do that. And I find it kind of just unforgivable. And so I don't know. I guess, yeah, he's just a guy having an experience out of life, except for that he's one of the most powerful people on earth.
You know what's
Right.
so interesting is that I feel like of all people, Gavin Newsom kind of keyed into this in a smart way, even though no one trusts Gavin really. But like he keyed into this in that he tried to turn the messaging and flip it on its head and saying that like, we are California, we are for freedom. We do
Right.
not like censorship in California. We do not burn books and we
Right.
don't censor speech. And we, you know, it just like we did he tried to make I love freedom a left feminine coded thing. And
Sure.
like that probably is actually the winning narrative for the left,
Yeah.
but no
I
one
think.
else picked it up. Like David Pakman has talked about this on his show about how like if the whole entire left ran with that, it would
Yeah.
be great. It would be amazing. But
It would crash.
instead, the left still seems censorious. It seems like the hall monitor crowd, and we seem like the HR crowd, and that's not
Sure.
good. So,
Yeah, we need a sexier version of left that's
yeah.
not that just isn't so trapped up in something toxic, man. Period.
Or something that just just it's outworn its welcome, like wokeness and being pro censorship, etc. None of these things mean anything really. I mean, they kind of do or whatever, but just
Yeah.
like as talking points, they're not fun anymore. Like they had their moment in the sun and now it's just not fun, and they didn't win. You know what I mean? Like there is a world where defund the police just fucking worked. You know what I mean? Like what if it just like it was an experiment? Everything's an experiment. It failed, right? It just like across the board, no one wanted it. And like in practical terms, it failed. But like, what if everyone wanted it in practical terms? It worked. You know what I mean? Like it didn't,
Yeah.
but what if it did? So the shit the left tried over the last decade just has failed. And then we just need to like admit that.
Why
And
can't
move
we
on.
have a more French resistance style left where it's tactical? Is that like can I make that my closing Devin Carson's closing thought of the day? Is like, boy, I love like I'd love like a yeah, like a
Uh-oh. Oh,
and is working in a less id kind of way. You know, it's like if all of the structures that had emerged over, you know, Black Lives Matter and defund the police and even go to the Occupy movement, which was actually a little bit more tactical, but we've seen all of these social movements live and die by their emotional energy. And like we really do need like a Dick Cheney figure for the left that can help us be more tactical about the way that we achieve some of these very important social goals. It can't just all be Rage Against the Machine.
well, I mean, I agree with everything except for like you said, very like important social goals. Like a lot of these social goals are just idiotic and dumb. Like defund the police, unless you really have a system that's an alternative to that, there are so many bad actors who would just take advantage of there being no police. You know, like we need police. Like no one likes that, but it's just true, you know? And we just had a lot of dumb ideas because the left's ideas come from uneducated, you know, like idiots, like freshman college people. Like, I don't know, there's bad ideas.
I can't hear you anymore.
Oh man. Yeah, I lost you for
but
a second
just for the
too.
last like 30 seconds, I hope they did an okay job of pretending. I don't know what's going on. I got a
Yeah, we're
phone
having some
call.
audio. Oh, maybe that was it.
And then
maybe that
maybe
was
it like rerouted the mic situation. Oh no, I'm sorry, my friend.
Can you hear me now?
Well, I fear that must be the end of the podcast then,
Oh, bummer. Oh, bummer.
because I
All right,
can't hear
man.
you even one little bit. I can see your mouth moving.
That's helpful. Okay.
Well, if this is it, boy, it was a good one, Pete.
All right, man. Hey, till next time. Yeah, I'll sign out.
Later, Pete. Yeah, bye, guys.